This is my very first intern interview. I got the chance to sit down with four software engineering students that worked at Carmax over this past summer. First, we have Amindu, who is a junior at the University of Maryland and majors in computer science with a minor of business and statistics. He worked with the asset protection team over this past summer. Second, we have Amudhan, who is a junior at the University of Virginia, majors in computer science, and worked with the native apps team. Third, we have Aditya, who is a senior at the University of Maryland, majors in computer science with a minor in business, and worked with the supply team. Last but not least, we have Sagar, who is a senior at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, majors in computer science with a concentration in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science, minors in economics of banking and finance, and worked over the summer with the financial technology team. Each of them had different exposures and experiences that shaped their summer, so please tune in to learn more about their projects and what they actually did on a day-to-day basis. All of you guys, thank you so much for those introductions. We'll jump into the next section here, which is the bulk of our channel and really the purpose of it. What did you guys actually do in your internships, and how would you describe a typical day? So Amindu, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, my intern project was one big project that I worked on throughout the entire summer. So just to give a general idea, so every CarMax store has the gates, when you want to go test drive a car, you have to exit the gates, employee scans and whatnot. And all those systems are being controlled within the store. And the general purpose of my project was move all that to the cloud. So throughout the internship, we were given this problem, like, hey, we need to move this to the cloud. We have our legacy system that we need to move. So with these moving parts, we had to come up with a solution to kind of go about that. So I was partnered with two other interns and we brainstormed a bunch of different things, went through the whole planning, going back and forth to more ideation and then final implementation. So for a typical day at Carmax, I don't think it was anything very like similar, like every day was different. So, I would come in, obviously, like since our project was very, you know, us working through a solution, we always, started off with in the morning. We had our stand up, talk about what we did yesterday and what we're going to do today. And then me and my intern group, we would, gather together, be like, hey, like, what are we going to focus on today? Plan on that and continue working on it throughout the morning, continue that into the afternoon. And is there anything we need to reach out to about, our team? Who should we talk to? Anything else? And then we would finalize with what is there for us to do tomorrow and maybe what even within the next week. And we would start to plan out sometimes by week because our project was very different and we didn't have like set deadlines. We would make our deadlines ourselves. So it was whether or not how much progress we were making and going on with that. So to answer that question, not every day was the same. It was very different.
Would you say you interacted with the same people, or was that also different on a daily basis?
Yeah, I would say we interact with a lot of different people. So depending on where we needed to go, we had our senior solutions architect that we would talk to, our manager, of course, and obviously we have the engineers within our team. So obviously they were working on a different stuff to us, but they were always willing to help. So we would sometimes talk to them about certain issues or questions that we have. So we would always be talking to someone different, which is good, just, getting more knowledge as it went on. So I think that was very important. But yeah, we talked to a lot of different people.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Amudhan, please go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I didn't really have a specific intern project. Instead, I was embedded onto the native apps team and just worked on the features that the rest of the team were actively working on. And for a typical day, I think like unlike what Amindu described, like I had a very like specific schedule based on the day. Like throughout the week, we'd have like our team-wide sprint stand-ups. That's daily, 30 minutes. And throughout the week, we also have like our refinements and sprint planning. Basically just planning for the sprint. Overall, like the mornings were just spent doing those meetings, but then after that, it was really just kind of like working on just picking up cards from the Azure DevOps board and kind of just working on that with other members of the team. I think as a whole, I did get a chance to like interact with like everyone on my team, specifically a lot of the Android people, but there are definitely like a few people I worked very closely with.
How would you say is the different skill set for required to resolve different cards? Were they mostly at an average of complexity, or did they really range with something that would you would have to delegate with someone else, or something you can take on yourself?
Yeah, I think it definitely varies. Some of the cars were kind of just developing these new like models from scratch. Other cars were just like small modifications I had to make, but yeah, sometimes we had to like create like brand new models to account for like API responses.
Got it. And as an intern, do you feel like school has equipped you with this, or were you learning these things as you go within the internship?
I think for the most part, I definitely learned as I went along, but I did take this course last semester. It was basically just a software engineering course where I just worked on a semester long project and like a group of five others with a group of five students, including me. And it was basically kind of like a similar process, just a lot like watered down, just these 2 week long sprints and just basically just trying to simulate like an actual like agile environment.
Got it. That's awesome. All right, Aditya, please go ahead.
So yeah, for my internship, it differed from Amindu's and Amudhan's as well. In the beginning, we mostly did trainings for Microsoft's data stack, like for Azure Data Factory, blob storage, and then Snowflake. That was another big data tool we used. Then we had like a couple stored procedures, which are scripts to test our knowledge, such as staging and loading, vehicle auction data, and also seeing how like email notification works with errors. It was a really cool learning experience. I really had no prior engineering experience in college. It was mostly the bare minimum. So it was great to have that baseline before I got into anything, big. And for the main chunk of the internship, I worked on a project. So we were tasked with migrating these data quality checks or these scripts from a depreciated platform to Snowflake. And there were over like 200 of these scripts. So it was, we needed to find a way to automate it and prevent developers from manually converting each and every one, which would be very expensive and time consuming, as you'd imagine. So our proposal, so me and another intern, was to make a proof of concept where we made a fully automated pipeline to translate these scripts to Snowflake. And we used Snowflake, Azure Data Factory, Azure Foundry, and as well as some AI like LLMs. We tested this with like GPT 4.1, Claude 4, Microsoft Copilot, like a plethora of different LLMs. And it was a really good experience to get to know how the data space really worked. And a big thing was communication, because of course we had many struggles, many roadblocks. We had to meet with many different people, so mentors, people not necessarily on our team, but in the whole general data engineering scope, to present our findings and show our progress, as well as receive some feedback on what we can improve on, what we were overlooking. And everyone on each team, regardless, was super keen on helping out. So that was really a big thing for me, seeing that everyone was so ready to help, so ready to give their knowledge. And for a typical day, it was more so like Amindu's, where we didn't have a set structure. So in the mornings, we'd have stand-ups using Agile, show our daily updates, update the team if we had any issues. And then we'd, code and test for the rest of the day, write documentation, make flowcharts, have code snippets, anything you can imagine really to document our progress. And the issue that came up a lot was permissions. Since we were interns, we didn't really receive much. And we had to, reach out to system admins, data engineers to get that permission to actually start working on things. And in that time, I was able to, make some one-on-ones with people from other teams as well, just to get to know the culture at Carmax, get to know what different types of people worked there. And I think that networking experience in my off time really helped in broadening my experience during this internship. And, I took away a lot, understanding so many people and their professional backgrounds and, how many different venues of software there really is. So that was big.
That's awesome. I wonder if timing of ChatGPT and all the different AI platforms was perfect for you guys to try to test it towards the end of the internship.
Definitely.
So that's awesome. That's a great use case. I know at Carmax, also in my field of work, we're always trying to find uses for AI, and I know there's a huge worry around the world of the use of AI, but so far from what I've seen, it's not necessarily taking the jobs or people's work. It's really assisting, and it's, if anything, creating new work that we didn't even know could exist. So this is a great example of it, where it's just, you know, creating a simulation for you to tell you if this proof of concept can take place.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right, well, Sagar, please go ahead.
So I'm sure you've noticed the trend. Each of us as interns had a very different structure, very unique style to the work that we contributed. In my case, I had a main project that I worked on with another teammate directly under my manager. So to preface, most of the work I did this summer rested within Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So the beginning of the internship was a lot of getting accustomed to that domain. Similarly, you know, doing research, workday trainings, certifications through Oracle University. But basically my main project involved configuring and implementing a full stack web application built upon the OCI microservices to basically streamline third-party vendor onboarding. So this was mostly a brand new initiative within the supply and commerce side, an idea to transition away from legacy models that were very manually intensive, and really go towards a new AI first and cloud first infrastructure that would basically just make the process very efficient and much faster and cost effective for the company. As well as enable more secure data exchange via SaaS and PaaS tools, and really just optimize the registration workflows for hundreds of high visibility suppliers by reducing that manual entry time. Alongside this, I had the chance to actually work on an independent solo project, which I would say was definitely one of my proudest achievements, because I was able to start with an idea which started as just a simple conversation with my mentor, and actually ended in a fully deployed solution that made it into production at the company, which was a very surreal feeling, because as interns, you obviously want to contribute as much as you can, and just being able to grow from day one where you don't know anything into really having an impact and a change in the company is something that I cherish a lot. But basically, I had the chance to deploy an end-to-end automation pipeline using Python and C# scripting to associate thousands of Oracle invoice records that were resting in an old database. What I did was help reduce this 4-step audit process and result in an exponential speed up by leveraging REST API integrations through AWS Aurora, as well as backend validation testing through Postman and SQL. And the big focus for that was streamlining for a small data set and designing a new system and pipeline to be able to scale to much more computationally laborious tasks. In short, the way that I worked throughout the summer was with an agile team of 10 core developers. We had a bi-weekly sprint cadence, and throughout the weeks and sprints, I utilized Azure and LeanKit to help track KPIs. I definitely made it a habit to have coffee chats and network with people within my organization as well as outside. I learned alongside my main projects a bunch of different functional areas within the radii of computer vision and machine learning, cybersecurity and identity access management, cloud architecture, and DevOps. So I definitely had a breadth of an experience. In terms of a typical schedule, the way that it operated for me on average would be, in the early morning, I'd say around 8 a.m. when I walked into the office until maybe 10 or 10:30. I would attend my sprint meetings and daily/weekly stand-ups, catch up on any backlogs from the day prior, and plan out my goals for the day. Then from there up until about noon, I would be sure to enjoy Carmax's cold brew, They have a very good selection of drinks in the morning to get you going, as well as attend any other miscellaneous meetings, coffee chats, etc., and really just get cracking at the tasks for the day. And then, of course, around noon to 1, enjoy a nice lunch break, get some air, stretch, socialize with the other interns and peers. And really throughout the rest of the afternoon, just keep trying to complete as many of those goals set in the morning, document new progress, and take it one day at a time. And then in the evening, I would be sure to have a nice workout, get some food, really just have a good balance between work and a good social life throughout the summer.
This is awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. What did you actually do? This is probably one of the most thorough responses I've had from interns. So I appreciate you guys summarizing it and putting it up forth for people that are interested. I will move into the last couple of questions we have here. The third one being, would you say the internship has taught you something new, or was it more busy work to be completed? Obviously, you guys have shared the different complexities of the projects you guys have done, and there's a lot to learn there. But curious, from like a personal opinion, what do you think? Amindu, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely not busy work in my opinion. Definitely something that I definitely learned a lot, like new and with all the technologies. And I was working a lot with Azure and C Sharp, .NET, all that different stuff, and really working with the legacy system and transforming that into a modern system that could be, worked in through the cloud. This is a 10 to 15-year-old legacy system that hasn't been touched by anyone on our team. And, they were like, yeah, good luck. We don't want to touch that, but, you guys got it. But it was a great experience and definitely something new. Even apart from the technologies, like about working at Carmax or an internship, like being in that setting, coming to the office every day, meeting new people, learning about how other people are working, how the other teams are working, and really how the company works itself was definitely new. So like apart from just, learning new within my actual project, but also experiencing this whole, new realm of like I say the corporate lifestyle or the corporate work, I've met some amazing people, who work at Carmax, but also the interns, who we've become very close with. So apart from just, all the new stuff I've learned, for software engineering and to help my career, but also those soft skills that you learn meeting with other people and talking to them and really learning about how a company works.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've mentioned it. Hey, there's a legacy system. Go ahead and tackle it. Good luck. But that's the good luck part. That's the fun part. All right. So we'll move to Amudhan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, same with Amindu. I agree. I don't think the internship was like at all just busy work to complete. From a technical standpoint, I definitely feel like it's helped me grow more confident as a developer. And just because like I went into this not having any mobile experience, but the team was able to like support me throughout my journey, and I was able to like start contributing very early on. But I think even outside technical stuff, I was inspired by like Sagar and some of the other interns to like also start doing coffee chats, and I think that's also helped me grow and like meet new people and also just get better at communication, which is something I'm also proud of considering like before even going into the workforce. One of my biggest like fears was having to like interact with other people, so just growing out of that was definitely very impactful.
That's awesome. Yeah, coffee chats, man. Any just talk in the hall and have a conversation.
Yeah.
It really makes an impact. That's awesome. All right, Aditya, go ahead.
So as for takeaways, to start out, like Carmax has a really big emphasis on the culture. And at first it was a lot of people telling us the culture is great, the culture is so good, but none of us had really experienced it. And just from the first week, from being on the team and meeting people, like you could see the culture is there. It is such an amazing culture. There's such supportive people there. And the internship definitely taught me something new, because similar to Amudhan, like I had only taken a data engineering intro class at UMD, but I didn't know too much. So working in a real environment actually taught me how real tools were used, how they were used, and how much these were utilized in an actual environment. And I'm super glad I got the team I did, because there was very minimal busy work and we always had a next thing to do. So if we were stuck on one assignment, we could always go to another or consult a mentor here. And I felt that the networking aspect was very, very important to me, because meeting all of these people introduced me to different types of work that people do, even outside Carmax, and how they approach problems, how they think like more manager wise or more software developer wise. It really opened my mind up as to how many like avenues there were in software, and that's something you can only really get from talking to so many different people. And yeah, overall, I felt my time was super purposeful due to these two things.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned being exposed to real life applications versus like a controlled environment in a school type of classroom. Yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you for sharing. Sagar, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, similar to my peers here, I would definitely say that this internship has taught me a plethora of new things. Not only was it my first real software engineering internship at a large corporate scale, but it was also my first internship at a Fortune 500 company, which is something that I definitely took pride in. Yeah, I mean, really, school gave me the chance to explore the fundamentals and theory behind, correct software design, object-oriented programming, design principles, working within, like you mentioned, a controlled environment and just testing our abilities. But this internship was definitely the first time I got to apply these skills in the real world in a professional circumstance, and really take on those responsibilities and provide value to the company. Some things that I noted were that I really learned how to work effectively in a dynamic team that was changing each and every day, and being able to adapt to those growing needs. The biggest thing that changed for me going into the internship was that my prior assumption was that, well, a software engineering internship, you're given your code base, and what you do is you have your list of things that you need to accomplish, and you keep your head down and you work all summer. That was what I had an idea of going in, and that completely changed by the end of the internship. I realized that in conjunction with the emphasis on social culture, particularly in the technology field, you can't really just think like a developer, where you're told what to do and then you do it. It's very important to really just see different angles and apply your skills in different areas to transform those business requirements into an actual feasible, impactful solution. And really it just allowed me to fine-tune my passions and see which areas of the broad scope of computer science I was really fond of.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is an exposure, and the dynamic of moving between projects and finding something to do and making that impact is definitely great in such environment. And Carmax being, like you mentioned, Fortune 500, and as a great culture allows for that. All right, so this last question is more for people who are interested in Carmax to do an internship, whether that is to land it or / to set themselves up for success. Amindu, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, working on a really big project that took, the whole summer to obviously get to completion, but not being afraid to if you don't know everything, or not being afraid to ask for help or ask questions, not specifically in your team, but other teams as well, because Carmax's culture, like, they want you to succeed, and they're very adamant on helping you and teaching you and being there for you. And like with that culture, like being experienced with that, like outside of that, doing other things within that culture, that's where I met Faisal, playing soccer. So like this whole culture is like all for you and trying to help you in the best way they can.
Yep, that's awesome. Amudhan, please go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with him in there. I think the biggest advice on my end is kind of like not being afraid to reach out, and like just if you need help or anything, like everyone's there to help you and watch you grow and succeed. And yeah, I think that was one of my biggest worries coming in, but that like the Carmax culture is so amazing that like I was quickly like alleviated the fear of like reaching out and like feeling like I'm kind of like being a burden. But no, everyone's great, everyone's willing to help. So yeah, my biggest advice is just like don't be afraid to reach out.
That's awesome. All right, Aditya.
Pitching off of what Amindu and Amudhan were saying, I think a big mindset change for me was that only 50% of the internship is the actual work. The other 50 is meeting so many people, talking to them, reaching out for help, and trying to network with real people. I think if you utilize that in an internship, regardless of the company, to network, I think you'll go places and you'll definitely learn a lot more than if you just did your work heads down.
Totally agree. All right, last but not least, Sagar, please go ahead.
Sure. So these are lessons that I learned both from my networking and personal experience. First one would be, it never hurts to try. When people say the worst you can say is no, it's really, there's other things that could happen, but really it's just that, having the courage to not have the answer or not be the most knowledgeable person in the room and still having the desire to learn and always grow is very important. And the second thing I would say is to always take the scariest job first. First, for example, personally speaking, I almost didn't accept my Carmax offer because, one, being in upstate New York, I'm over 11 hours and 400 miles away from the headquarters, and I really had never stepped out of home or even the state before. So that was a very jarring idea for me, but really stepping out of my comfort bubble and just taking a chance and seeing where life takes me is something that I cherish a lot.
That's awesome. Totally agree with all your guys' advices, and it is definitely impactful in the real world for internships or full times right after. So thank you all for your time today. I'm really excited for people to see this footage, especially for people looking to intern at Carmax or elsewhere, but especially in the fields of work that you guys have done over this past summer. So without last but not least, to the last segment of this channel is to please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will put this episode to rest. Thank you guys.